This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV Profit.
Novelist Kunal Basu, who's also a management don at Oxford, has a new book of short stories out. It's called The Japanese Wife, and the title short story is being made into a film by Aparna Sen. I caught up with Kunal Basu in Delhi last week. Coming up, Kunal Basu right after the break. Stay with Just Books. Welcome back to Just Books. Kunal Basu is a well-known fiction writer and also professor of management at Oxford University. His new book of short stories, The Japanese Wife, has the leading story being made into a film by Aparna Sen. A real double life. You've started out as a student of engineering, then became a professor of marketing, first at McGill University, now at Said College at Oxford, and yet you've always had this longing, this urge to write 3 novels and a new book of short stories. How do these two lives come together?
Well, my CV makes no sense on paper. If I were to tell somebody, well, this is what I've done and this, etc., people would say, well, you're either making it up or you've been chaotic. Yet, in some sense, intellectual chaos has characterized my life so far. I mean, I started out without a lot of choices, as most middle-class Indians did, you know, in the 70s. My biggest disadvantage was I was a very good student. So for subjects that I had no love for, such as mathematics, had very high grades, and subjects that I had a great deal of love for, such as history, I also had very high grades. Now, how do you know when you're in grade 8 what you want to be in your life? So I studied precisely the wrong subjects. I studied science when I should have stayed away from science. After I finished, I studied engineering where I should have stayed away from. And I would have given up engineering after my degree, except I had a full scholarship to do a master's in the States. And I said, well, that's an idea. Somebody's actually going to pay me to travel around the world. So I did a master's in engineering. But all through, the love, the passion for the arts has really defined my inner being.
Your 3 novels in English, starting with The Opium Clerk, then The Miniaturist, and Racists, are really forays into history. The Opium Clerk, of course, about a clerk in colonial India during the opium trade. The Miniaturist, an imagined novel about the great painter Behzad, the main court painter of the Emperor Akbar. Yes. And then Racists, about racial theory in the 19th century Europe. Very little historical fiction written in India, or convincingly at any rate. How did you choose upon what are probably real-life characters in medieval and colonial India to spin these novels?
You know, as a Bengali growing up reading Bengali fiction, particularly 19th century novels and 20th century novels, historical fiction was everywhere. From Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, Ramesh Chandra Datta, later Sharadindu. So I guess a romantic at heart, was always touched by the possibilities of the historical novel. Now, The Opium Clerk came about in a very coincidental way. I was trekking in northern Thailand, near the border of Burma. And the most boring part of a trek, obviously, is are the evenings. What do you do in the evenings? So I was sitting in my hotel, and my Thai guide took pity on me. And he said, well, read this book. It was a dog-eared paperback about the Golden Triangle, about heroin and all of that. And I've never been interested in drugs, either as a subject matter or as a consumer. But I was bored, so I started turning pages. And there was this phrase that leapt out, which said, in the 19th century, Calcutta was the world's capital for drugs. And I said, that can't be true. I'm a thoroughbred Calcuttan. I should have known that. So I had a mental note to myself that when I go back to McGill, which is where I was a professor, I should look it up in the library, which I did.
And then you discovered that Calcutta, of course, was the great 19th century entrepot and exporter of opium. Its fortune was built on opium.
Absolutely. And as soon as I started turning the pages, the story of the Opium Clerk, the addicts, the clerks, the merchants, the rebels, the ship's captains, opened up in front of me.
And then your 3rd novel is called Racists,
yeah.
About a strange experiment conducted by scientists or sociologists in England and France in the 19th century to prove racial theory or theory about superior racism.
Yes. That story completely puzzles me. Why on earth did I think of a story about scientific experiments on race in the 19th century is very intriguing to me, because I normally do not spend a lot of time thinking about race. I've spent 29 years now living outside of India, first in the US, then in Canada, now in Britain, but I do not have a minority syndrome. I'm race blind. When I see somebody, I don't see race. Why did I think of this bizarre experiment including a black child and a white child marooned off the coast of Africa, and two scientists coming and observing them like rats in an experiment, and then arguing between each other in terms of their racial theories, even today takes me by surprise.
In your new book of short stories, The Japanese Wife, the lead story is being turned into a film by Aparna Sen, you take a completely different turn. These are really rather disturbing accounts of encounters between Indians and foreigners, or foreigners' clashes with India. The lead story, of course, is about a young boy in a village in Bengal who starts a pen friendship with a Japanese girl, marries her without ever setting sight on her.
Yes. Someone was asking me, is there a common thread in these 12 stories? Because the stories are actually very different. As you said, people from different parts of the world, different settings. A story set in Tiananmen Square in China, a story set in Indonesia, in Java. They're very, very different. One in the Sundarbans, actually two in the Sundarbans. The common thread, if there is one, is unexpected encounters. Okay?
Are you very pleased that Aparna Sen is turning your short story into a movie?
I'm delighted, and it came about completely coincidentally, but I'm very pleased with what I've seen of the film so far.
Talking about the civilizational encounters as opposed to cultural clashes that you write about, you are an observer of how modern India has changed in the last 15 or 20 years since economic reforms began, particularly in your specialized area of study, which is branding, marketing, and analysis, corporate analysis and strategy. What's your take on India today and the way it's changing, and how the outside world, the West, perceives it?
Well, the outside world is taking India much more seriously.
Then it should?
Much more seriously than it did in the past. It should take it even more seriously. 25 or so years ago, when I first went abroad, people didn't pay much attention to where I was coming from. They would perhaps pay attention to me, but not where I'm coming from. Today, I have the additional advantage of not simply being me, but being me, the Indian. And so there are a lot more questions, a lot more curiosity, and that's all fine.
And as a teacher, and the kind of students you now have on studying the Indian market and its emerging economy, as it's called, what is the substantive change?
I mean, there's a sea change. 15 years ago, when I first offered a course at McGill University, marketing in developing countries, specializing on India, it'd probably be 20 students. If I offered such a course at Oxford now, it will be oversubscribed, and people will be turned away and said, no, there has to be another section of that. So palpably, there's been an increase in interest in India, but I should hasten to add that it both excites me and worries me a bit, because the excitement is obvious, and people have written about, why it's exciting to be in
What is
India.
worrisome?
What's worrisome is perhaps in the rush to understand the India, which is growing very quickly, the world, and perhaps we as Indians are forgetting the India which is not growing so quickly. The India which is still in the shade, which is not in the sun. And many of my stories in these 12 stories are about ordinary people in India and their unexpected encounters. So these are not the high-flying, globe-trotting Indians meeting people from abroad, but a school teacher in Sundarbans encountering a Japanese woman through letters. So what worries me is in this rush for a high level of consumerism that we see in India, we are perhaps forgetting those who are not yet in the marketplace.
And yet, as your stories very clearly depict, have similar or wide-ranging subliminal desires to make contact with the other.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think this is a fundamental aspect of our human nature, that we are not only drawn by similarity, but we are also drawn by unfamiliarity.
The
by
strangeness of life.
Yes.
Kunal Basu, pleasure to meet you, and great delight to read your new book of short stories. All the very best for your future novels and, of course, your academic career in teaching. Thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you, sir.
That's all for now, but I'll be back next weekend with another edition of Just Books. Until then, from all of us here at NDTV, goodbye.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV Profit.